as long as you're prepared to work and not make a lot of money at the beginning and you love what you do, then be an architect. If you don't love it, don't do it. You got to have a love affair. It's my mistress. Just ask my wife.
Hi, welcome back to How Much Can I Make? The podcast all about jobs and careers. I'm your host, Merav Ozeri. My guest today is Rob DuPont, an architect I actually worked with on 3 different buildings. We talk about years of training it takes to become an architect, why networking is so important, and why starting salaries can be surprisingly low, and how owning your own firm can dramatically change your earning potential. So, let's turn to Rob DuPont. First of all, thanks a lot for willing to do it and give us the time. I really am excited about that.
Hi, Merav. Great to see you again.
Thank you. So let's start by telling us, when did you first realize you want to be an architect?
When I was a small boy, I've always wanted to be an architect.
Really?
Yeah.
What's inspired it?
I can tell you a specific memory. My father grew up in Fall River, Massachusetts, in the Boston area. And we used to visit his side of the family all the time when me and my siblings were growing up. And the route that we used to take, it was one of those main highways, used to go right past Providence, Rhode Island. Okay?
Okay.
The Capitol building in Providence, Rhode Island. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's a classical building. It looks like a miniature Capitol in Washington, D.C.
I've seen it passing by, driving by.
At night, in particular, it's spectacular looking. They light it up. It's a white building with a dome. It looks like a miniature U.S. Capitol. It's a beautiful building, and it was designed by McKim, Mead & White, one of the great architects in New York City back in the day. It was a competition that they won. So that building, more than anything, inspired me to be an architect.
Wow.
And then I started to play with Legos and draw and everything, and it just built on that. So I'm fortunate in that I had a calling early on, and I've never regretted it.
Very fortunate. So what kind of studying or certification or degree did you have to get in order to work as an architect?
First of all, you need to get a degree in architecture. So I attended college at Syracuse University. It was a 5-year program, which was pretty standard at that time because there's a lot that you have to learn to do it. There's a lot in the curriculum to learn. So I went to school from 85 to 90 at Syracuse University. I got my bachelor's degree. I graduated. And then in order to be a licensed architect, to get your license to practice architecture, you really have to apprentice with architects and firms to learn the job and the responsibilities and everything that's included. There are so many aspects to architecture that you have to learn and master. You can't learn them all by just going to school. My program was very diverse, which was great. They had everything from structural type of classes to code-related classes to abstract design classes, art and drawing classes, color study. There's a ton of different disciplines that you had to learn in order to do this kind of profession. And it's changed a lot, too, with automation. When I was going to school, the computers were just in their infancy. As far as drafting on the computer, it was just an elective. If you go back to look at a school now, it's all automated. So I don't even know if they teach hand drawing any longer. They may.
Or mathematics.
Possibly not. Yeah, we had to take introductory math as well. So anyway, I don't know how much it's changed in the 40 plus years since I've been out of school. But can't believe it's been that long. But what I was saying was, when you work for an architect or a firm, you have to go through a series of apprenticeship years where you're learning how to actually work on buildings for real, work with clientele, and work in firms. And then at the end of a certain period, you'd be eligible to take your licensing exam. So whatever state you live in, they would issue a licensing exam. It's usually a several-day period. You take a series of tests, and then you're graded, and it's either pass or fail. And if you pass, you get your architect's license. And if you fail, you get the opportunity to take it again.
But the license is good only for that state? Or?
Correct. But you don't have to take another exam to get your license in another state. There's a process called reciprocity, where if you just pay a fee, you can get your license in another state, in the continental U.S.
It's all about money.
Yeah, but it's not that bad. It's $200-300, I think, something like that. And also, to maintain your license in a state, your license is only good for 3 years, and then you have to renew it with a fee. So, yeah, there are always fees to pay for a license. I think that's true for every profession.
When you started, did you know what kind of architecture you want to do?
Not really. I loved buildings and building things. So I didn't really have any preference. I will tell you that growing up in the country around here, I grew up in this town, this little town, there was no idea about modernism. It was basically all traditional type of stuff. So the first exercise that they gave us as freshmen, the assignment was design your dream house. So all the students, and I started out with about 125 fellow freshmen in my class. Right. So we all designed these horrible houses, like Disneyland houses. And then when we went for the first critique, they basically tore them all apart and said, you have to learn from scratch. It's like the Marine Corps. They totally break you down and then they build you back up again in their image. Professors, baptism of fire. So it was a very interesting process. And it culled the people that really wanted to be architects from the people that might not be able to handle the demands of the profession.
Was there any particular architect that you're admiring that was your inspiration over the years?
The only architect that I even knew about when I was growing up was an American architect named Frank Lloyd Wright.
Yes.
He's probably, traditionally, I would say most people in this country know him more than any other, just because his name has been in the news so much.
And what's his name? Frank Gehry.
Frank Gehry may have supplanted him. Now, Frank Gehry just passed away, but he was a revolutionary architect. Canadian by birth, by the way. He was born in Canada. He moved down to California and became an American citizen. So that's an interesting thing a lot of people don't know. But Frank Gehry was a phenomenal architect.
I've seen his building in California, the house where he lives.
Oh, yes. His house. With the chain link fence?
Yes, and all the corrugated metal thing. It looked to me like a ghetto house.
Yeah.
I really hated it.
That was an early work, and it beauty in the eye of the beholder. His thing was he used found materials. It was like found materials for art. That's how he expressed his initial design.
And he was part of all this deconstructivism.
I don't know. I put Gehry in a class of his own.
Yeah.
He was very unique and he was revolutionary. Yeah. He was a genius designer.
Are there trends in architecture? Is there a trend now that you know of that?
Not that I know of. Oh, no, that's not true. There is a trend. It's called biophilic design.
What is that?
It's where design of buildings takes its inspiration from natural forms. Plants, topography, skeletal structure, things like that. So that's why you see these more amorphous buildings are coming into fruition now, all over the world, as a matter of fact. This kind of thing is practiced all over the world. They've got to be incredibly expensive to build, but they're pretty cool. So that's one trend that I'm aware of. Other than that, I don't really know. I get a lot of periodicals, but I haven't seen anything really revolutionary that's coming around. And deconstructivism was happening when I was back in school. So that's long gone. Postmodernism, deconstructivism, all that kind of stuff.
I hated it, I have to say.
Did you?
I hated it. Can you walk into a building today without critiquing it, without thinking, oh, I would have done this, I would have done that?
Nope. And I tend to be either black and white on something. I'll either really like a building or I'll really think it's terrible. And I'm happy to enumerate the various ways. But you can't really blame one person. I'm a unique entity in that I'm a sole proprietor. So a lot of the building is about me and, of course, what my client wants, right? It's their building, so I basically do what they want. So all the forces that affect a building in the end, it's budget, it's codes, it's planning boards, the client's needs, all that kind of stuff. That's what ends in the result. So it could be any of those factors that could either make it a success or not a success.
That's what I wanted to know. How much time do you actually spend designing versus dealing with code, with permits, with contractors, with all of that?
Varies from project to project. I've been doing this so long now, the designs come pretty easily to me. So I would say the vast bulk of the time is in the drawing and construction drafting in the computer, and the construction document phase of the buildings. That's the majority of the work because there's so much information you have to put in.
Now, what if there is a client, you have your own design, your own style, and you and the client don't jive about the design. You just do what the client wants?
That's right.
That's right.
Yep. The only thing I draw the line at is I'm obligated to follow the codes and the laws. So I can't design anything that doesn't comply with the building codes or the local zoning ordinance, for example, in whatever municipality you're designing in, or structurally something that won't work. I can't do that. But if they tell me they don't like the door there, even though I tell them that's really the best place for it, they want it over there, it's going over there because that's what they want. And they're paying for it, so they're going to get what they pay for.
So I want to talk to you about AI. A lot of people that I interview, it's threatening their job. Is AI a threat to you, or is it helping you?
I don't employ anything in AI in my own business yet. It's not threatening me at this point. The only experience I've had with it is I've had some clients come to me with a rendering that was done on AI, and they may take a picture of their house and tell ChatGPT or whatever bot that they're using, chatbot that they're using, put a front porch on this and a second floor, and it will render an option. And then I guess they can tell it, add more windows to the front or whatever, and they can tailor it. So some clients have brought me renderings like that and say, this is what we like.
But that's helpful, no?
It's totally is. The more that they can give me that they want specifically helps me do my job properly. I don't have to invent it from scratch. So I've found that to be beneficial. Now, I understand with all the money and effort that's going into AI, not only here in America, but in China and everywhere else in the world, it's going to get better and better. It may supplant design entirely. I don't know. But the other difference to keep in mind, Marav, is if you're working on an existing building, that's a different situation than maybe if you're building a building from scratch. And just like any other tool, we used to draw buildings by hand, with pencil on paper, with drafting tools and things. And when CAD, computer-assisted design, came out, people were worried that maybe draftspeople would lose their jobs. It was just another tool that allowed that draftsman, it was traditional, although it can be anybody, it just allowed them to do their work digitally, right? And it also allowed a lot of the drudgery work to go away. So that was an improvement as far as I was concerned. Digital photography has been an improvement over film photography. Right. These are just tools that I'm not particularly afraid of it. Plus, I only got about 8 more years to go, and then I'm hanging it up. See how tired I look? But it's been a great career. If it kills me off, so be it. I'm certainly grateful, and this will probably help the people that your podcast is tailored to. I'm grateful that I went into the industry when I did, and I'm grateful that I'm not going into the industry now. Like my daughter, my 22-year-old daughter and 24-year-old son that are going into the workplace where this kind of thing is already starting to chip away at traditional roles.
Absolutely.
There will be roles for them, but it's not as clear-cut as... I'm just so lucky that I knew what I wanted to do and I could do it. I went to school for it. I got work immediately, and I've had a very fruitful career. So I know how lucky I am.
One thing I forgot to ask you, you said that in school you learned a little bit about construction. Did you learn engineering too?
Yes.
Do you have a degree in engineering, or is it just a supplementary?
Supplementary, yeah. An architect, above anything else, should know how to put a building together. If you only know how to draw pretty pictures, you're not serving the industry. You need to know how things go together and how systems work together. Then you can create a cohesive whole. WHOLE. Not like a budgetary whole. So they taught us a variety of disciplines so that we could keep these kind of things in mind when we are working on our building designs. So more of a holistic approach.
So AI is very helpful in that, right?
Because sure. If you can have AI... I have I want to use a steel beam. It's spanning 30 feet. This is my loading criteria. This is the floor plan. Size the beam for me. If it can do that, that's wonderful. That's just a tool. So that may be supplanting someone doing manual calculations. That's the kind of stuff that, as humans, we don't want to do that kind of stuff anymore. So we have computers to do that kind of stuff, which frees us up to do better things. I just hope AI doesn't completely eliminate everything that a human can do, so we have nothing to do. That's kind of the fear. So I think there's a lot of fear of the unknown. I think we'll probably adapt. I don't think it's going to make us obsolete.
Right. So,
me in particular, 8 more years.
You're counting the days.
Counting them. Frank Gehry worked until the day he died, and he was 90-something. That's crazy to me. Yeah. I love my work, but I just don't want to work so much. You should ask me about how much I work.
How much you work?
A lot.
Are you independent? Are you working 7 days a week, or you work 5 days a week?
That also changed based on where I was in my life. When I was a bachelor, I worked 7 days a week. When I first became married, I worked 6 days a week. I would take Sundays off. Once we started to have children,
it's 5
days a week, right?
Soon there will be grandchildren, it will be 4.
It will be 0 when I have grandchildren, maybe. I still keep in touch with some of my buddies that started in the program with me, and we all work regularly 50 to 60 hours a week. That's what we work.
But many architects tell me they can't get a project, they can't get a job, they finish school, and it's very hard to break in and to get... Mm-hmm. What do you say about that? Because you're always busy.
I am. And again, I'm fortunate. The key is networking. And I was fortunate to have a lot of people in my life early on that took a shine to me and wanted to help me. So the first architect I worked for was Robert Young in Kingston. He was a great mentor to me. He saw potential in me, he gave me responsibility, and he trusted me. And I did good work for him, and I worked hard for him. So it was a mutual benefit. The only reason I went independent was because there was I think it was 91 or 92, because there was a slowdown, an economic slowdown in this country at the time. In fact, I remember the dean of our School of Architecture, this was 1990, we were getting ready to graduate, right? The dean of the School of Architecture at the time, his name was Werner Seligman. He was a German immigrant that had come to this country, and he was very well known in the modernist world. He knew the big players in Europe, right? He had escaped the Nazis, just like a lot of people did, and came to America and built his life here. Anyway, he was a hard-driving German dude, and he told us no lies. And when we were getting ready to graduate, he said, I have to tell you, it's not a good economic climate out there. You're graduating into a lack of job opportunities.
That's what I always heard about architecture.
So I had a local architect here had given me a scholarship if I signed an agreement to work for him as soon as I graduated. So I had done that. 2 weeks after I graduated, he had to let me go because he had no work.
Yo.
So I had gotten the scholarship, and a deal was a deal, but he didn't have any work, so he had to let me go. So I went back to the other guy, Bob Young, who I'd worked for in summers. I started to work in an architecture firm my first summer off in '86 to start to get experience. So these are the guys that gave me my start. Through knowing them, I met other people, builders, engineers, other designers, and you just have to network with other people. People see somebody that is a good worker and earnest and honest, they'll want to give that person opportunity. That's how you do it. So I just have always had good people around me that have seen potential in me and given me opportunity. And then that opportunity leads to more opportunity.
I hear about networking again and again. Networking and luck is what most people that I interview tell me they got their job through.
Yeah.
So walk me through a process. I come to you, I say, please, I need you to build me this house. What goes from the time I meet you and we make a deal till the building is finished?
So the first thing that I do in order to be hired for a project is I'll ask them specifically what they want, and as much information that they can give me is helpful. That way I can come up with a fee structure that will be required to produce that work for what they're looking for. So if I'm hired, then there's a variety of different projects. Let's say it's in addition to somebody's house, okay? So there's a series of steps in the work that have to be achieved. The first thing that we do is we measure up the portions of the existing house where we're going to be attaching the addition. So we know what we have to deal with as far as the existing conditions. Then, based on that information, and again, it's a variety of things. It may be structure, it may be foundation, it may be mechanical system, it may be a septic system in the way, or a property line close by. These are all things that affect the design. So we come up with a concept, sketch concept, present the sketch concept. We keep what you like, we modify what you don't like, and then we just tend to keep working on the design to fine-tune it so that we end up with something that they're happy with and I know can be properly built within their budget. I've always worked well with builders, and I get a lot of referrals from builders because I know how to build a building so well. That's very valuable to
So my crew built with you 3 buildings.
Yeah.
And they told me they like you the best and they work with a number of architects because your plans are the most details and makes their work a lot easier.
Oh, because I know how to build a building. So I'm doing it for them as well. If I can make it more easy for them to build, it helps them too, which lessens the friction between them and the client, the owner of the building. So it's a 3-legged stool. We all support one another, and then at the end, everybody's happy. It's a successful product that way.
What's your favorite project? I've seen you building from scratch, addition. I don't know if you do renovation. Do you do?
I do it all, Marav.
What's your favorite thing to do? So renovation, additions?
I like the
scratch?
variety. I have no favorite. I love the variety. New,
That's
old,
great.
modern, traditional. I just love buildings, and I love building stuff. So it doesn't matter to me.
So it's called How Much Can I Make? Let's talk money a second.
Okay.
How much a young person that starts today can make in the first 1 to 5 years, you think?
I'm glad you asked that. And the reason I'm saying it in a joking way is I didn't really know the answer. I knew you were going to ask me that question, and I didn't really know the answer because I haven't hired anybody in a long time. I have a woman that helps me with my books, right? I know what I pay her. I have a woman who helps me measure up buildings. I know what I pay her. But this is just a per job basis. They're not employees of mine. Right. And then I have subcontractors like engineers and stuff that I just hire on a per job basis. So I didn't know what the information was. And I'll tell you one thing, my first job, I was paid $5 an hour when I worked for an architecture firm.
After all the studies?
No, I was still in school.
Okay.
So it was when I was working over the summers.
Okay.
$5 an hour. I remember when my boss, Bob, never forget, he came out and he said, I'm not paying you guys enough. I'm going to give you an extra $1 an hour. We didn't even ask for it. So that's why I love that guy to the day I die. He was always generous. But that was 40 years ago, right? When my wife and I first got married and I had started to get established around this area, we considered leaving here. And she was going to go back to school. So we started to look in the Baltimore, D.C. area, parts of Virginia. And I had friends that had graduated architecture school with me that were working in firms around there or alumni of Syracuse. So I set up a series of interviews. And at this point, I was licensed and I had experience behind me. At that point, starting salaries were about $30,000 is what I could expect a year. So that was dramatically less than what I was making having my own firm. So I basically told my wife, it's too late. We can't leave now. We're not going to make it. So that's how we ended up staying in this area. But I do have a friend who is a partner at a firm in the Boston area.
Okay.
I called him in anticipation of this interview, I asked him, what are you paying your interns and stuff? Now, it depends on their level of skill. And this is in the Boston area, too.
Okay.
So it would be commensurate based on where it would be. You're going to get paid less in Texas, somewhere in Texas, than you are in Boston. It's really expensive in Boston. It's really expensive in New York.
New York,
LA, so that you'll get paid more. So Boston's kind of a good litmus for that. He said that they're paying $20 an hour is what they're paying students that are still in school.
Okay.
When they graduate, it's about $25 an hour.
Oh, that's all.
That's all. No, I have to tell you, Mirav, it is poorly paid at the beginning.
Okay.
If you stick it out in the long run, it can be lucrative, but it takes a while. And having your own firm makes a big difference in how much money that you can make. So that's why I decided during the financial snowdown, when I was let go, because I had made a lot of connections, I just started to subcontract drafting to this engineer, this contractor, this architect. I started to work for a whole bunch of people. And then when I got my own license, I started to be able to generate my own work. And I remember when Bob Young would say, he'd say, Rob, someday you're going to generate your own work. I could never do that. How am I going to do that? It does happen through these connections that you make. So it's very important to do a good job and serve people well. That will serve you in the long run. So it's not a sprint. It's a marathon, really. The longer you're in it, and if you do a good job and you keep building on your successes, you will make more money. Now, this buddy of mine who's a partner, he's making six figures.
Wow.
Yeah. So
what kind of building they build?
They do, it's called building envelope specialty. Okay. So they work in the municipal Boston area, which is it's all buildings, right? They specialize in the exteriors of the buildings. So they repair masonry, they fix the roofs, the glass, and all that kind of stuff. They do some from scratch stuff too, but that's kind of their bread and butter work. They do a lot of work for schools too. But there's so many existing buildings that need maintenance and repair, they get contracts like that. So it's a specialization. And a lot of firms are specialized. It's how they're profitable. There are some big architecture firms that do hospitals and sports facilities. A friend of mine worked at a company called HOK down in New York, and that's what they did, sports facilities and hospitals.
There must be big money in that, no?
Oh, sure there is, yeah. But it's so specialized. I wouldn't be able to do a school very well, or a hospital, forget it, or a skyscraper. Those are highly specialized disciplines. So there are firms that specialize in that stuff, and then they can be more efficient that way, which makes them more economical to hire, plus they have the know-how. So I'm more of a general practitioner.
How do you work with sustainability and global warming? Is there new techniques, new things you have to keep up all the time with? You have to incorporate it? Are clients demanding it?
If clients demand it, I incorporate it. But primarily, the biggest demand from clients is staying within budget. It's always been the biggest challenge.
Really?
Absolutely, the cost of things. And especially in the last 5 years, the cost of things has skyrocketed and everything. So it's a constant challenge. What we are obliged to do, at least in this state, is we have to, and most states in the continental U.S., you have to comply with energy conservation codes. So in other words, the buildings have to be efficient in their heating and cooling methods and in their insulation values. So those standards are getting more and more restrictive. And so we're obliged to use those standards because it's part of the law.
And who is testing it? Who is making sure that you're complying?
The building department, the local building department checks that kind of stuff. So we incorporate it into the plans, and then they make sure that it's implemented properly. When I was first starting out, you could throw anything in the wall. No problem. Dirty sweat socks. What's the R value? I don't know.
Insulation
10.
from newspapers, I know.
Exactly. Mud and straw. It's gotten a lot more sophisticated in the years since I've been practicing. And it's slow and steady improvements and that kind of thing. That's the only thing that I do. I've found that a lot of these special products, green products or whatever, are even more costly, or they're so specialized they're problematic. So I avoid a lot of that kind of stuff, and I work more with off-the-shelf components. It's a lot less headaches that way. Still makes a great building. The houses that we're doing now are this house that you're in is over 20 years old. If I were to do this house again, it'd be way better as far as energy efficiency. So if it burns down, I'm only semi-unhappy, okay? Because the next one will really save energy. And when this one was done, it was good. It was really good for its time. Not by today's standards.
Is there a special style that appeals to you that you would rather work on than other styles?
Modern. I prefer the language of modernism, yes. Cement, less ornamentation, lots of glazing, glass, open spaces, light colors, combination of materials. Not sterile modernism like early modernism. Modernism can be very rich as well, but I prefer simpler structures.
What would you tell your 18-year-old self about choosing that profession?
I would tell my 18-year-old self that as long as you're prepared to work and not make a lot of money at the beginning and you love what you do, then be an architect. If you don't love it, don't do it.
Right.
You got to have a love affair.
Yeah, it's probably true to everything.
It's my mistress. Just ask my wife. Can I tell you a story?
Yeah.
How much time do we have?
It depends on you.
All right, I'll tell you a quick story.
Okay.
This will bring my wife into it. We were considering getting married, but we weren't married yet. And we took a trip out to California together to see if this was going to work out, right?
Okay.
There was an American architect named Bernard Maybeck that I used to like his designs. He was
never heard his name.
Nope, you wouldn't have heard his name, but you can look him up. He was a California architect. He was a crossover between traditional and modern in an interesting way. Also some Asian influence as well, which a lot of that was in the West Coast. Anyway, Maybeck's designs were really good. I liked him a lot. And he had done this one building. There was a big exhibit that was out there in San Francisco, the Pan-Pacific Exhibition or something, and I forget when it was held, maybe the 30s or something, 40s maybe. Anyway, a lot of these exhibitions, they were like World's Fairs. They'd build these gigantic places, or the Olympics, build all this stuff. It lasts for a certain amount of time, and then it's over. And then what do you do with all these buildings? You knock them down. Can they be repurposed? So he had designed, all these buildings were designed to be temporary, but he had designed this building called the Palace of Fine Arts. It was a complete folly of a building. Massive domed structure with these humongous statues on them. Huge building. Different hued concretes, ornamentation, pretty cool looking. So they tore down all these buildings, but they kept that one because the locals really liked it. So they wanted it to stay. But it wasn't built to last. So eventually it started to fall apart. It was made out of plaster and plywood and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So they loved it so much, they had it reconstructed out of stone and concrete and everything. So it's a permanent fixture. It's in Presidio, the park in San Francisco. So when my wife and I took this trip out there, I said, we got to go see the Palace of Fine Arts. So we go there, and there it is, right? Wow. So I'm taking pictures of it, and I said, honey, can you get in the picture, please? I'll take a picture of you with the building. And part of the building had these walls that sort of stepped down to the ground. So
they fell apart.
But no, this thing is solid as a rock.
Okay.
So she had to climb up these things to get up there. It wasn't like a little step. It was like 4 feet tall. So I said, get up on a couple of steps. So she got up there. And meanwhile, I had a 35 millimeter camera. So I'm way back with my long lens. And she goes, you're so far away, you can't even really see me. And my reply was, that's okay, you're just in it for scale.
And she still married you.
She still married me. 31 years later, here we are. So that's a running joke with us. When we're taking a picture, she goes, am I just in for scale? So anyway.
What is your favorite buildings of all times?
Believe it or not, there's a building in San Diego, which I love. There's an American architect out there named Jonathan Siegel. He's in the San Diego area. He's designed a series of wonderful buildings, usually mixed-use buildings. And there's one building he did called the North Parker. It's in the North Park section of San Diego. It's a mixed-use building of commercial and residential. It's very modern, and it's beautifully done. It's simple and elegant. I took my family for a trip out there when the kids were still young, and I said, we're going to that building. And I have pictures of my son in that one for scale. So that's actually the screenshot on my computer is that building. It's none of my designs. It's that building. So I aspire to do work like that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. There's hundreds of buildings that I love. The Newport Casino in Newport, Rhode Island. I don't know if you've ever heard of that building.
No.
This is where the Tennis Hall of Fame is.
Okay.
That's a wonderful building. The New York Public Library is a phenomenal building. Gary's buildings are incredible.
Incredible.
We have his building at Bard College over here, the Fisher
Oh,
Center.
take everybody to see.
I'm fortunate enough to have Frank Gehry building in my backyard. That's a great building, right?
Yeah.
The roof leaked like crazy.
I didn't know.
Oh, yeah. I could tell you some stories, right?
Wow.
Frank Lloyd Wright's buildings leaked like sieves too.
This I know.
Yeah, because their vision exceeded the technology at the time. Frank Gehry suffered from that too. And I've been in other Frank Gehry buildings, and we look for leaks and we find them.
What would be your dream project to work on besides retirement?
Oh, yeah. And grandchildren, right? Dream project that I haven't done already. A boathouse. I've never done a building on the water dedicated for watercraft to come into. I would like to do a boathouse. Yeah.
All right.
There you
Anybody out there that can commission a boathouse?
I'm your dude.
Rob, thank you so much.
You're welcome, Rob. Great to see you.
Highly interesting.
Yeah, good. I hope it helps the future generation.
Thank you. It was great.
Bye-bye.
That's it for today. Thanks for listening. If you're thinking about a new career, head over to howmuchcanimake.info and take my 5-question career quiz. It will match you with jobs that fit the lifestyle you want. No email, no registration, just 5 quick questions. And I'll see you next week with a new episode of How Much Can I Make?